So let me tell you about millionaire sales secrets. So many years ago, I also was doing a lot of work in game farms and that type of stuff, where people would go game drives. And I know I was encountering a lot of Americans. So what I tried to do was I tried to write a talk. I looked at sales and I tried to write a talk that spoke to the big five. And the funny thing was, I looked at the big five, the elephant and the leopard and the buffalo, and I looked at characteristics that they have and I linked it to sales, and it went very, very well. So when it comes to sales, and by the way, I've been selling ever since. I think it was the first thing I ever did was get involved in sales. And I think the difference between the presentations that I do when it comes to sales, everything that I speak about, I've actually done myself. Any technique that I suggest, I actually have tried it myself. You know, in my book, the worst people to try and train salespeople are people who have just theoretically studied sales. There was one guy in particular, and I'm not going to mention any names. He studied a different type of degree at varsity, and the next second he was selling himself as a sales trainer. And I still remember I questioned him on it because I was the MC of a gig, and I had to read out these credentials about the sales master, knowing full well he hasn't sold a thing in his life. And all he said was, "You don't have to be a world class sprinter to train world class sprinters." And the only problem with that is when I went through some of my many training courses that I went on, I'll never forget there was a theoretical young lady who was doing all of the training. And the problem is she was following the manual in what it said, but she had a few guys in the room who actually had sold, had sat across from a client, had their entire month dependent on closing that one sale, that deal. And they said, but that won't work because if you say that to a client, he'll come back with A, B, and C. And I'll never forget that day. She couldn't answer it. She basically looked and went, and you know what she did? She bent down and said, "I think you're right. We must change the manual. I'm not making this up." She made a note to change the sales manual because she couldn't work her way around and apply the lesson, which, by the way, was sound. But you had to use that lesson in the context of where you were, and only a skilled salesperson could navigate through that, which she wasn't. She was a theoretical person, obviously with some kind of degree from some university in training and development. Here's some advice. If you want your guys to sell, get them in front of a sales professional, somebody who's done it for a living, somebody who knows what it takes to close, to open, to overcome objections in the real world. None of this theoretical stuff. So I took the big five and I was very turned on by multi-millionaire sales secrets. The reason I say that is because a lot of the times I would learn and I would study from people who had literally made millions and millions of rands, some even millions of dollars, just selling. And I would say that's the person you want to speak to. That's the person you want to take to lunch. So a lot of the lessons that I learned were from these multimillionaire salespeople, and I'm not shy to say that I made a substantial amount of money just in sales. And to this day, I am still selling. For example, isn't this what I'm doing right now? This is a sales presentation. It's just a modern, different way of doing it because 20, 30 years ago, there was no website and you couldn't click on something and get the person speaking directly to you. So you have to adapt and move with the times. But the only way you know that is if you've hit the bricks yourself, if you understand what an objection is and the difference between an objection and resistance. You see, two different things. And a lot of people try and solve resistance. Meantime, it's basically resistance, which is just a slowing down process, but it's not objection. And 90% of people don't close sales. And you know this? We do not close sales. In fact, most salespeople today, or sales reps, which is an unfortunate name, you know their closing technique goes something like this. Well, you have my email. You have my quotation. Let us know. Or here's my card. Some people still hand them out. Here's my card. Let us know. And then the sales manager says, "So what happened to that deal?" Well, I've emailed him again this morning, and I've emailed him last week Thursday. I don't know. That's not closing. Closing is looking in somebody's eyes and saying to them, "Hey, are we going to do business? Are you going to buy?" If you need your sales team to learn how to sell, to get multi-millionaire sales ideas, I'm the guy who can do it. Do you know why? Because I've studied it, I've been there, I've done it, and I've interviewed the multi-millionaire salespeople. I have done that since I was, I've done this since I was, see, my first job was actually in law enforcement. So I've done this for approximately, let's say, give or take 30, 35 years that I've been doing what I'm doing, and I've been selling and studying sales. That's another thing. So click on the link below. You obviously clicked on this link because sales is a thing for you. I promise you, once I'm with your people, they will learn more than they've learned in 1 hour's keynote than they would in 6 weeks of study. And more importantly, you'll notice further on down, I've got various modules because you see, in an hour or a 2-hour keynote, I can't really cover all the areas in depth. But if you go and do the getting your foot in the door or how to close a sale, we actually go into more depth and we can spend an hour, 2 hours just on those individual subjects. Okay, so I'm looking forward to helping your team, helping you guys achieve your targets. More importantly, to get people excited about the sales profession, because it is the most exciting profession. In fact, it's the most excitement you can have with your clothes on. Because in the movie The Boost, Jimmy Woods, someone says to him, but why do you like selling so much? And he says to him, I love selling because every time someone buys from me, it's another person who believes in me. I thought that was pretty cool. Listen, click the link. I'd love to come and chat to your people.